lose your moral compass. Deciding what is that line that you will not cross? What is that important principle that you will not transgress? How far are you prepared to go in your business, in your campaigns, in your advertising, in your marketing? How far are you prepared to go before you say no? Kaepernick took a knee. Nadella said enough when it was the Muslim ban in the travel ban in the United States. And then companies had to really decide when it came to the next thing, compassion. Where you stand, where you actually move forward. Look at all these. These are stories from 18 months ago, 2 years ago, from Charlotte, the Carolinas. You remember the story, correct? You remember the story, the white supremacist demonstration, which met the left-wing demonstration, which met the do-good demonstration. And the result was violence. But what did the President of the United States say? Does anybody remember? What did the President of the US say when faced with a demonstration involving the Ku Klux Klan? What did he say? Donald Trump said, Donald Trump said there were very fine people on both sides. Now, I don't know about you, but as between right-wing extremism and liberalism and fascism, most people do not say there were very fine people on both sides and expect to get away with it. But Donald Trump said that now. This required CEOs to take a choice. You couldn't stand on the dividing line. You couldn't say, well, he meant this, no, he meant that, no, it was okay, well, maybe it wasn't that good, well, okay, well, as a CEO, you had to take a stand, because as Nadella says, today's CEOs are the moral compasses of our society. Leaders, political leaders, have gone by the wayside. It is up to the leaders, and that's why Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, says it's a leader's role in business or government to bring people together. What does that actually mean when it turns about that? It means this: taking responsibility. I want you all to say together, I'm sorry. Right, no, we'll do it together. Doesn't matter what you're apologizing for. 1, 2, 3.
I'm sorry.
What are you sorry for? The point about it is most of us have great difficulty saying, I'm sorry. Try it again.
Sorry.
Again. Again. Some of you aren't saying it, either because you can't or you won't. When it came to the CEO of Boeing to say, I'm sorry for the fiasco that is the 737 MAX, it took him months. Maybe it was because the lawyers were there. Maybe it was because he was frightened of litigation. Maybe he wasn't sorry. But eventually, Dennis Muhlenberg had no choice. Assuming we see Mr. Muhlenberg, he had no choice.
and Boeing are sorry for the lives lost in the recent 737 MAX accidents. These tragedies continue to weigh heavily on our hearts and minds, and we extend our sympathies to the loved ones of the passengers and crew on board Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. As pilots have told us, erroneous activation of the MCAS function can add to what is already a high workload environment. It's our responsibility to eliminate this risk. We own it, and we know how to do it.
Now, that was really interesting because he sort of says, we're sorry. And then he hedges it a bit about this, that, and the other. But he never actually says, we're sorry. He goes into, we understand this, and we understand that. But everybody's aware he hasn't said,
I'm sorry.
It's another 8-9 months before more leaks, more revelations, more reviews, more everything. Finally, before Congress, he says, I'm sorry, we got it wrong. Compare that to, for example, Tony Fernandez of AdAsia when his plane crashed off Indonesia. The man was out there immediately saying, I'm sorry. We didn't even know what had happened. But what he said is, they're my passengers. They're my passengers. I have to deal with it. So, my point is, and why you may be asked, am I saying this at an advertising conference like this? Because you're likely to get so caught up in your own bullshit. You're likely to believe your own shit doesn't stink. You're likely to believe that in your world, it's no need to take responsibility. Blame the client, blame the campaign, blame the new media. All of these things versus the actual responsibility of saying, I am the leader, it is up to me. I take responsibility for what happens. And finally, I just want to say, this is the most important bit. Integrity. Integrity. What does it mean? What does integrity mean? Self-esteem, yeah. What else? Come on.
Doing the right thing.
That's the definition. That's it. The true definition of integrity is doing the right thing without telling anybody. Doing the right thing. How many times have you done the right thing and immediately told somebody? True integrity means doing the right thing when nobody's looking. The best example of this, I always think, is the next person I want you to listen to. Christine Lagarde. Now, Christine Lagarde was the managing director of the IMF. Before that, she was the Minister of France in Finance in France. Today, she is the President of the ECB, the European Central Bank. There is nobody in this world who better embodies the concept of what we're talking about, as she explained to me.
Worry that you can be bamboozled by the economists.
They're always trying to do that with me, you know? When I joined as Minister of Finance, they all said at the time, oh, she's a lawyer. Well, I can listen, I can absorb. I've eaten a lot of files and tried to understand a lot of concepts. I don't master them, and I'll never do a PhD in economics, let alone macroeconomics or econometrics. I've had it at the IMF as well. You know, it's a fantastic institution which is largely dominated by economists. They probably all thought at the time, oh, she's a lawyer. She was a finance minister for a little while, but she's just a lawyer. Well, again, I can listen, I can absorb, I can learn from everybody. I'm sure the same thing will happen to me at the ECB. We'll see.
Amazing foresight as to what she needs to do. So I'm prepared to now take questions on this and anything else. But I ask you, as you head out here, ask yourself, what would you have done as CEO, faced, first of all, with the Muslim travel ban? Would you have taken an example? Would you have taken a stand? Would you take the knee, and if somebody of your employees takes the knee, would you stand up for them? If faced with a leader who says there were fine people on both sides, and that leader happens to be Donald Trump, what would you do? Would you walk on the other side of the street? Would you look the other way? The definition of true leadership these days is this. In 2019, true leadership in a company involves recognizing that you, in the absence of government, you are going to be the moral leaders. You are going to be the moral compasses, because your employees are going to be the ones that you are looking after, and their rights, responsibilities, and futures.